adventure.
We went
Oh,
there and now we're back.
I was thinking that no one wanted my opinion today.
Oh, no.
But don't take it personally.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Ernie, just so you know, I started the recording at 7:09.
okay, I will officially call us to order and ask if you could please read the rules of conduct for us.
Happy to. This is a web-based call. It's a meeting of the Financial Planning Allocation Commission special meeting agenda and budget workshop for April 7th, 2021. The session will be both video and audio recorded. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting, and will generally be keeping video on themselves on throughout the meeting. If a member of the public creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recommendation of staff or the chair. For public input before the meeting, please email your comments to publicinput@columbiact.org within 24 hours before the meeting. All set.
Thank you. I already called us to order. Let's have a moment of silence to reflect or pray for a new Zoom license or whatever you feel like. Thank you. Approval of minutes. Any comments or motion on the minutes of our last meeting? Hello? Anybody have a problem with the minutes?
No,
No, Ernie, but this is Kelly. I'd like to abstain since I wasn't present.
Can you wait till we vote?
I will, but I didn't know if you were waiting for a vote or not.
you waiting for?
I'm waiting for a motion.
I move that we accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we accept the minutes. I know that we have one abstention. Is there any other no vote or abstention? And everybody else is assumed to have voted yes. Right into the budget workshop. We ended last meeting praying we had more information, and Mark was going to check around to see if he could get clarification on a few things or a lot of things. And Mark, you want to bring us up to date on what you found? And
Yeah, thank you, Ernie. The American Rescue Plan is the key slug of money coming our way, where we realize that I think it's 530,000 is coming to Columbia, 204,000 to the school, and maybe $1.4 million through Talon County to Columbia. Martin Heff just sent out a memo today saying that the American Rescue Plan has a team put together through the U.S. Treasury that will be outlining how to administer these new funds, but they will communicate when they have information available and basically where to stop calling. So those rules have not been defined yet. And what I'm aware of is that in theory, within 40 days, half of the money should be hitting us. And I don't know if that's half of the 530,000, which I'm assuming will be given to us in 40 days and then half a year later, with rules to follow. And then Bev and I have been working quite a bit trying to understand FEMA, and they've just changed the rules, but maybe not. We're still trying to figure out, did FEMA reimbursement go from 75% to 100 or from 100 to 75? And Bev has more information. She's been handling the FEMA side of things. And also, Jen and I and our department heads have been applying for federal grants through Joe Courtney's office. We have 4 applications we're working on that are due by Friday. So one of them is in, and 3 more to go for tomorrow and Friday. but each congressman can award 10 grants between 100 and 150 to $200,000 a grant. So that's in the range that we're applying. And I have no idea whether we'll qualify or receive any of those grants.
That's in grants for the whole state.
So Courtney has, I think, 25 towns, somewhere around there. So
Oh,
he'll
okay.
get 10 grants. And Larson will get 10 and Blumenthal will get 10. And I think.
Is that all part of America Rescue Plan?
I'm
Or is
not
that
sure.
different?
I think it's different. I think it's a different slug of money coming through Congress.
Thought it was part of the same bill, but it's definitely confusing.
Yes. So I think we're assured maybe of around 2 million. With no understanding of how we can spend it. My theory, what I'm hoping, and that's what we're going on with a lot of these cuts that the Board of Selectmen are going to present tonight as recommendations to FiPAC, is that we cut out things we think the American Rescue Plan we can use that money in Rec Park, for rescue vehicles, for engineering, for HVAC, for generators. So we're optimistic that the rules will not be super stringent as long as we're trying to help the town get people outside and keep everyone safe. And the school Maria is much more understanding, and you could ask her on what she believes the school side will be focused on for their grant money.
Mark, we're getting, you said maybe around 2 million. What's the time frame that we have to spend that money?
So 2024.
Okay, so we don't have to make those decisions right now. We can do it in subsequent years.
Well, what we have to do now, and this is where the Board of Selectmen have made a preemptive recommendation, is we've stripped out of the budget things we think the American Rescue Plan might cover, because we're afraid that one of the rules might be you can't use the money for something that's already budgeted.
Okay. So we can add those items back into the budget if we get the money from the American Rescue Plan. But we simply have a couple years to
We
do
could
it.
fund them from the American Rescue Plan, and then if the American Rescue Plan's rules prevent that, then we'd have to either go to a town meeting for funding or wait till the next budget period for funding.
Okay.
So we're taking a risk.
What happens? You said we might get some money in 30 days.
They were saying 20 to 40 days, they think the first slug will hit, which
So
would
that's
be
this
half.
year. That's
Right.
this fiscal.
Yes.
How do we account for that money?
We don't know. Literally, all we get is these memos that the Treasury Office, I'll read it to you. OPM Secretary McCaw has put together various teams, including separate municipal and education teams, to administer the new funding. We will be in communication as we proceed and have information available. So OPM Secretary McCaw has teams in place, but we're not sure what the
Got it.
rules will be yet.
Bev, could you make a note to bounce that question off the auditors? I don't know if we need a separate fund or if it goes into the general fund. Or what do we
I'll
do?
ask them. More than likely, I would recommend putting it into its own special revenue fund until we know what to do with it. Because it sounds like we have to keep it separate.
Oh, for sure. And we'll probably
check.
be judged on how we spend it to make sure it meets the qualifications for the rules that are sent to us.
Okay. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
So we'll have some money, I guess. Anybody else on FiPAC have any questions?
Not me.
I guess, did you say the board of, probably for Selectman Everett wanted to talk a little bit about the list?
Yes, Stephen couldn't make the meeting. He's on a family leave with a possible death in his family, so he couldn't make it. And the board voted last night on an operating reduction to the budget based on health insurance. We voted to switch from CT chip and terminate it on June 30th and start the new plan with the state partnership plan on July 1st, 2021. And that reduction to our operating budget will be $66,760 on the town side.
Excuse me, Mark, they just gave a consensus on the changes on pending FiPAC and all that. So it was just a vote to change the insurance last night.
Right, the vote was to change insurance, and the effect of changing insurance will be $66,760 reduction to the budget
Okay,
on operating. The capital recommendations are merely recommendations to FiPAC if you choose to accept them.
based on the logic that you shouldn't start, it would be smart not to start funding these things now.
Right, so the total reduction to the Board of Selectmen town budget is $407,260. And I could go over the capital suggestions if you wish.
Does anybody wish? I do not wish.
I've reviewed already, and I'm okay with what I have in front of me, actually.
My only question is with regard to Rec Park, that those reductions are the total everything for that, correct? 208,000 it adds up to?
No, there's still 57,000 in Rec Park that we
Right.
could spend, but that's a bulk of the concession stand, the bathrooms that we wanted to go forward with in the scoreboard. But I'm pretty confident that the American Rescue Plan will want us investing in outdoor recreation.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful.
So just quick question mark then is, if we do get this money, and I think you said it would be 50% of the total,
Right.
so that would be about $1 million, then we
Well,
can.
no, I don't know if it's 50% of the 530 for the town or 50% of everything. So they haven't been clear on that.
Okay, so anyway, once we get the money, then we can make decisions on moving that money. It'll go automatically into the town account. So then we can start funding some of these items like the rec park or the fire department equipment, stuff like that. Once it
Correct.
gets done, okay.
Correct. And obviously we want to give time to find out if we are awarded any of these grants that I've put in through Congressman Courtney. Because we'd want to use that grant first.
Okay.
And Mark, are the various committees and the fire department, they're all aware of these
Yes,
capital cutbacks and they were all in agreement?
yes, they were on the Board of Selectmen meeting last night. The fire department said that they wanted to keep their rescue truck 100 to 25,000 in the budget, but they're willing to risk pulling the SUV out, which was 50,000. And then through Congressman Courtney, we're trying to get the remaining 110,000. If we don't get it through Congressman Courtney, possibly the American Rescue Plan would pay the 110. If that doesn't work, then last resort is we'll go to Board of Selectmen to a town meeting and general fund. So
Okay.
these are all progressive discussions we'll be having in the future.
Okay, but none of these capital items that are listed here are going to be a surprise to anybody, correct?
No, and none of them are essential, meaning they're, we'd love to have them, but if we had to, we could go a year without them.
Great, thank you.
Were there any other things that fall within the approved list, like loss of revenue? Investment income, for instance?
Actually, we did not address loss of revenue. That is another area that we could go after. Loss of interest income, loss of rec park income, loss of, what was the third one, Bev? There was a third revenue that we might be able to replace.
It would be property tax. They haven't given total guidance of what that revenue loss is, so we can't go further on that until we get the guidance.
The big unknown is if you're going to replace loss of interest income, when do you start calculating that loss? Is it the loss from when the pandemic started? Is it loss from the beginning of the fiscal year? So those unknowns were being debated in a meeting I was on.
Well, we couldn't go back to the, is that really an issue since we're talking about the future?
I would think it would be the fiscal year. I think you would compare fiscal years to see what the actual fiscal year loss was. Because if you start micromanaging it down to the exact day that the pandemic hit, I don't think we'd have the accounting capability to do that.
No, I agree with what you said. Fiscal year makes a lot of sense.
But those directions, as Bev said, have not been moved forward. All they've said is, we want to keep you whole for loss of revenue in your town due to
Okay.
COVID.
I don't know if you can put numbers or the three or four or two or three or four things you're thinking of, but some sort of estimate would be.
Because I don't think we're going to be at a loss for tax. I think we're going to be okay in our tax collection. Interest
Yeah.
income, we definitely took a hit, and rec park, we took a hit.
Well, if that's all we have, that's all we have.
Right.
Let's, at least whatever number you think is ballpark, we can kick around. I like to see us kick it around. Okay, and Bev, all these things on this list, are they reflected in the new budget document? Beverly,
I think she's on mute. She's on mute.
Hey, Bev, can you unmute yourself?
I think she muted all of us.
Hold on, I'll go in and see if I can get her.
She may have turned off audio too.
Hey,
Okay.
Bev, can you hear me? Bev,
Bev.
don't
I
think
can
she-
text her.
Okay, she's unmuted.
Would you-
I can't hear anybody.
Oh, okay.
Oh, can you hear us now, Bev?
Hi, Bev, can you hear us?
Knock, knock.
Wonder what I can do.
I
It
forgot
should
what
be
my
on
pic-
her end.
Yeah, I don't think it's up to me. Hold on. Let's try all to unmute.
Sorry, I couldn't hear anything.
How about now?
I
Okay,
can
you're
hear
back.
now. The sound went off, I guess.
Oh, my question was, are all these things reflected in the new budget document?
No, the only thing that's reflected is the health insurance. I think we're waiting to hear what FiPAC wanted to do, if they're in agreement with it, and if so, then I will proceed to put them in next week.
You got your little calculator?
Hold
Oh,
on,
never mind. So
I got my phone.
There's, I can't do, oh, it's been a long day for me. What's that, about 350,000? If we accept this, about 350,000 more reduction. And that means the mill rate will go down about 3/4 of a mil.
Yes, it's about, yeah, it's about 300, yeah, 340, 500.
Three what?
340,500.
Oh, okay. So again, if we accept this, the mill rate, the revised document, we'd expect to see a mill rate reduction of roughly 345,000 divided by whatever the value of a mill is.
Yes.
So do we have to lower the mill rate if the budget is less than the previous year?
At the moment, it's not less.
Right now, we're probably, we're probably about $1 million above last year's budget.
Right. But Ernie
Yes.
just said that if
Oh,
we
this
accept
change-
these reductions,
So this change in capital, with capital is almost about 3/4 of a mil. And right now, we're at 2.95 mil above last year, which comes
Yeah,
to
Judy,
about-
I'm starting from the budget document as proposed, as presented. So this document, if we didn't change anything, taxes would go up by 2.95 mils. Okay, if we adopt this list, that 2.95 mils becomes what, 2.3?
oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. We still have almost $1 million to make up.
Yes, that's,
Now, it does not incorporate Board of Ed reductions to healthcare yet,
well, that's what I'd like to talk about.
because they weren't voted yet, and then Maria can handle that.
Maria, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. So
Anything you,
yeah,
like to
what
tell
we
us?
are, Ernie, is we've negotiated with all three of our unions because we have a different obligation when we make a change in our carrier. So we're
Mhm.
done with our negotiations, and the unions should be voting hopefully in the affirmative to support the move to the state plan by tomorrow. The Board of Ed we're having a special meeting at 5 o'clock tomorrow. So we're hoping that this all goes through without a hitch. If it does, Bev has the figures of what we expect that savings and health insurance is 100 and I don't know
43.
what Bev would have to tell me. It's not as substantial as we'd like. Bev, you're still muted. Sorry.
There we go. So we've heard that with the changes, we've already heard that a couple of families on the Board of Ed are going to be joining the plan. So we're trying to account for that. So right now, rough estimate, until we get some confirmation, we're down to a $90,000 change, additional change, because the other prior budgets were reflecting some of the changes to the other plans we're looking at. So right now, we're looking at probably about another 90,000 coming off the Board of Ed budget.
Okay. And Maria, did you also make some changes because in the capital account? I can't remember anything anymore, so.
No, we didn't make any moves at this point, Ernie. We were still in the conversation with all of you to suggest what you'd like to see us change, and I'd have to bring that back to the Board of Ed. Again,
Okay.
you know, it's a tight year, but we'd have to go back and have those discussions.
So the semi-firm guesstimate for health is around 90,000.
Yeah.
At the moment, yes.
Yeah. Anybody, FiPAC, have questions?
Actually,
No,
Maria, if we cut anything on your capital budget, do you have any recommendations on what we should cut?
That's hard to say. I'm looking at Chris. So my suggestion would probably not be a cut, maybe it would be reduction, so that there's maybe a commitment to the projects that the board has approved but maybe it's not realizing the full request this year. And I would, again, I'd have to bring that back to the board for their,
Okay.
yeah, I would need to keep the paving in. I would, I think that's a non-negotiable. And then we'd have to talk about how much for the track and how much for air conditioning would remain. But I understand the competing demands this year.
I know.
Hmm.
And I mean, I think the board is in agreement, the FiPAC is in agreement, that we want to minimize the any tax increase. Matter of fact, we want to keep it at a 0% increase. And that would be by doing some cuts, as the Board of Selectmen has recommended. And also, I think we'd have to borrow some money from the fund balance
Yes.
to make that happen.
Yes.
So anyway, I
Yes.
think we would like you to take a good look at the possible cut.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I would speak to the board because my, as I mentioned earlier, cutting deeper into the appropriated budget is difficult given the unknowns and the needs to close gaps. I would be more apt to look at the capital myself, is where I would tend to spend my energy, but I will bring it to the board and have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a
Ernie?
question.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go-
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do we know if we understand that the money that education is going to get in grants is going to be spent on education services? Does it seem likely, or is this just another one of those things we don't know, that some of the town money could be spent, say, on HVAC for the school, given that HVAC is so important to keeping illness from spreading, or something like that. So the town money, could it be spent on the school if we needed it?
I would defer to Mark. I don't know enough about the municipal funds.
And that's an area I was gonna jump into, if it's okay, Ernie.
Sure.
It's not clear, they haven't clearly defined
Really?
if the Board of Ed has to spend money on their physical plan, or the town can support the Board of Ed in their physical plan. So we're still waiting for clarification on that. So Maria's in the same jam I am, that we don't know the rules of spending the money yet. But yeah, the
only
town
thing
would
that-
love to support the Board of Ed in their physical plan, but we're not sure we'll be allowed to.
And for us, the only thing that we really have accounted for at this point is the ESSER 2 funds, which we've projected as grant funds because the application, we're in the process of the needs assessment. But even the relief funds, we've heard 250, we've heard 204. Most recently, I heard 3 times the ESSER amount, which would be 300,000. So until I really see the guidance and the numbers, I'm not even, I'll believe it when I, see all the info. And again,
Maria,
we
let
would
me
want to
ask
use
you-
funds over multiple years. We would not want to have a cliff.
Let me ask you about the track.
Mhm.
I admitted last week, I'm not an engineer, but I looked up the dimensions of a full-size track. You can't fit a full-size track down where your track now lays. Trust me. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, that's what it's sounding like. But yeah, I'll know more. I'll know formally by the end of this month.
yeah, you
what
could
they
get
say is
on the,
possible. Yeah.
town
I know.
web, if you knew the dimensions, you can get on the town website and you can measure things. But I guess if that's really where we're gonna wind up, and the only viable approach here is just simply resurface,
Mhm.
does that change the way you would want to fund this, or is that something you can think about?
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely we can think about, and as soon as we have those different scenarios, I mean, I think I think I'm kind of on the same page that you are, Ernie. My guess is that we are just going to be resurfacing. But I, again, want to know what that means. Is it just regrading and putting backfill and then putting that gravel on top, or is it
Oh,
a
yeah,
quote,
yeah, that's,
surface? I
yeah.
think those are two very different dollar amounts.
Anybody else? Oh,
Yeah,
Mark, let me go backwards a second to capital projects. You used to give us that nice capital projects report. You know, the one that's had a project and then how it would be funded over the years.
Right. You did not receive that this time? And originally when we sent everything out? I'd be happy to get that to you, Ernie, and show you.
I might have gotten it, but I don't have it. So if you don't mind giving us all a copy of that, I think it'll
Yep.
make it easier for us to follow.
Would you like me to incorporate the recommended changes of Board of Selectmen and give you a revised 5-year capital plan with those in?
What does the rest of FiPAC say? I would say yes.
Actually,
agree.
Why not?
I do have a question, Mark. I think you said that the Board of Selectmen recommended these changes, expecting that FiPAC would make a decision on these changes.
Yes,
So is it expected that we're gonna make a vote tonight, at least on these reductions in the budget?
No,
no,
No.
no,
Okay,
it's
we
just,
don't have to decide that now. It's
you
just a
don't have to decide.
recommendation.
I could just present it and highlight some of the recommended cuts in my 5-year plan if you'd like.
Okay,
I'll do
Ernie,
that.
we're still trying to put something together that makes sense for us, Dick. So it's too early
okay,
to vote.
okay.
Ernie, can I ask a budget, Board of Ed question?
Sure.
So I'm two questions about MBR. If we receive money from the CARES Act and it's spent by the school, whether it's done now or through some special allocation later, is that going to change our MBR? Do we know that? Or is there any talk about it not impacting MBR?
I'm going to defer to
Mark,
Bev because I've asked her this question. And what was your
Okay.
answer, Bev?
Thanks. If it's like the other grant funds and it's not going to be considered part of the town appropriation, it's considered separate, it will not impact the MBR because we cannot replace the town funding. It's to supplement or add to it. So she has the additional funding and it should not impact MBR. Is that what I told you, Maria?
That is what you told me, Bev. I just
And-
wanted to make sure you didn't have any new hot off the press information.
Nope.
Okay. And so the second question is, I probably should know the answer to this, but when you do the capital improvements at the school, like the track or the air conditioning, does that go into the MBR or is the school's capital budget separate?
Separate.
Separate. Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And
Anybody
Ernie,
else? Yeah,
Ernie, can I just drop one other thing out there for
sure.
everybody to consider? The executive order came through today that stated if we want to change our calendar of the budget process, we have to do that before before
20th.
April 20th. So that would mean the Board of Selectmen would have to have a special meeting, probably in conjunction with FiPAC, a joint meeting to change the budget process. And then the budget has to be done by, is it June 30th? I have to find my document.
I have it here. Upon joy. The final budget must be approved prior to June 30th, 2021, or at a minimum, the first town meeting. Anything before June 30th, pretty much.
So that would mean in our budget schedule, we're supposed to have a public hearing on April 16th.
Well, are we
April
going
6th.
into, before we get into that, Mark, because that was like the budget meeting dates that are coming up. Do we want to go into that now or do we want
Well,
to finish?
here's the reason I brought it up now. How long before we all have answers that will determine whether we want to extend our budget process? Because if Maria is going to have answers from the Board of Ed by tomorrow, we'll know a lot.
It won't
And-
change more than the 90,000 though. I think that's so we have kind of the information. I just can't say it formally until we've kind of.
Right. And then your next holdup in answers is getting your engineering back which is due, wasn't it April 17th?
It's just the end of April.
End of
It'll
April.
be the end of April.
So if you had answers by the end of April, does that give us time to have a public hearing by the 16th? I'd say no. Or by April 28th.
I
the
mean,
actual public hearing.
so for me, Mark, and I don't, Ernie, may I jump in?
Certainly.
Thank you. For me, Mark, even if we have a feasibility study, I don't think we have to wait for the feasibility study for us to determine what everyone is going to approve being in the capital plan. Because really, any of these projects would be more than what is, more than the
Budget.
factor, yes. So
Okay.
it would be a multi-year, I would assume, project. So,
And the point of me bringing all this up, Ernie, is that
Yeah.
I don't think by extending our public hearing or our annual town meeting for May 11th, if we extend it 2 weeks, I don't think it'll help us any. I think it'll be so confusing that if we could pass a budget as reasonable as possible and then figure it all out over the next 4 months, that works. That's just my thought.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
If the school capital projects don't affect the MBR, all right, why then wouldn't the CARES Act cover things like the HVAC? Why can't we strip that out of there and hope that we get this, through CARES along with, some money? Leaving $10,000 to start it, but pull a whole pile out and hope that we get it through CARES. Same with the track. It's outside, much like Rec Park. And as long as it doesn't affect MBR and its capital, I think we should wait on CARES. And that drops it quite a bit. And if we can run it through the CARES project through the town, because it is a capital project, regardless whether it's a school or town, I think we should do that and see where we end up with the idea that when the money comes in and we can do that, we reimburse you. Or, however we distribute the money at that point.
Ernie, can I say something?
Sure.
I think we just should, those are good ideas, but I think we should wait and have input from the Board of Education before we make any kind of decision about that.
Well, she pretty much told us what she's going to do. She's only going to move the 90,000 is what we can expect for the reduction.
Well, maybe they're going to come up with that, but I would like to hear what the Board of Education says about that and give them a chance to give some input in that.
Ernie?
Go.
So I know I talked about this last week, but I still feel the same way. I mean, you're talking 40 days, Mark, till we have some general idea of what this rescue money is going to look like, what it can be used for. We're still playing really in the dark. And if it doesn't really impact anything too badly and we have the ability to go longer, I don't see why we should force a budget with so many unknowns. That's just my opinion. When we have flexibility to do it. If there was a penalty, if we had some sort of penalty for waiting a little longer, maybe I would say, okay, what's the rush to
Right.
put forth something now?
Brian, write this down. I agree with you.
And that's true, because we don't know what's coming. I just know in June, things get crazy and trying to schedule meetings with everybody on vacation starting. That's all.
And
Yeah,
and Mark,
reason-
I'm sorry,
Who was that?
Kelly,
Go.
doesn't our fiscal year start July 1st?
Yes,
I don't think we want to pass a budget the day before our fiscal year starts.
I would agree.
And I also think that, given that, I'm fine with delaying it. I just wouldn't want to go all the way to June 30th. But why, because of all the circumstances, why can't we not build in any of these extraordinary things? And if we do get the CARES money, we can have a special budget meeting, go to the town for appropriations. I know we don't normally like to do that, but these are extraordinary times.
You
And
could.
it might be worth doing it later if we have to.
I agree. strip everything out we think might be covered, get a budget passed, everybody calm down, and then see what the rules are. And if we have to go back for a town meeting, we do. If we have to wait a year, we do. You know, we have, none of these things are essential except for the rescue truck. And I'm sure a town meeting would complete that funding if we don't get any grants for it.
Except there's one, the one difference is that we still need to sharpen our pencil. We've traditionally been okay with close to 400,000 coming out of the general fund, under $1 million coming out, and we're looking at double that at least.
Yeah, I'm
So,
with Brian.
so that's my only concern about that, is that maybe by waiting when we have some clarity, maybe there's some things that we can pull out of the budget that we weren't anticipating would be
Right.
reimbursed.
True.
Yeah, and it's not just about pulling stuff out of this year's budget. If you look especially at the capital funding, look over a 3 or 4 or 5 year period, those numbers are jumped up high this year and they will continue high.
Yes.
Maybe it's not realistic to go for a 0% tax increase. We need to look beyond this year and take into account this extra money. How much is in the general fund? If we take out over $1 million, that knocks it down to like what, 2.5 million or something like that. So I think
Right.
we need to do some numbers crunching, and that we should allow ourselves time to do that and do some reasonable thinking. It's not just about rescue money. It's about the long-term financial well-being of the town.
So if that's the case, Ernie, and you want to extend it, I need to make that recommendation to Board of Selectmen that we do a joint meeting at your next meeting to set those dates. Because the Board of Selectmen set the dates, I believe. Is that true, Bev?
They're the ones who set the budget calendar, and the annual town meeting is their meeting. So it looks like you do need to have a meeting by, the budget vote needs to be done prior to June 30th. I see that.
Yeah, but the, by
But I know
May
the executive
20th.
orders are not being extended past April 19th. So I
in
think
essence,
20th is the end of when you can do remote, hybrid, in-person executive orders. So I think somehow next week or two, you do need to have some type of meeting to at least reset the budget calendar.
it said to change the date, you have to do it by April 20th, which means our next meeting, FiPAC's tentative meeting of the 14th would work. If the Board of Selectmen and FiPAC had a joint meeting on the 14th, the Board of Selectmen could set the public hearing and the town meeting at that date.
That works for me.
And
The
that
more-
gives us another week to figure this all out, but
I agree.
And I agree too. I think that would make the most sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
if
then-
we can get the capital projects report, and Bev, you were gonna throw these numbers in from the list. If we can get that as soon as possible, maybe we FiPAC can start to get our fingers on some numbers.
All right, so I'll add in the town proposal, the health, and add in once we know with the school a little firmer on their number. Because I know right now, if you do add the 90,000, we're about 1 mil down, which will get it to about a 2 mil increase. Based on my quick numbers here. And then it's just playing with other stuff. But I could get that to you possibly are you there? By the weekend, if that works.
That works.
and
Okay,
Ernie, and what Bev normally sends out is the full capital sheet of everything. What I think you were talking about, were you talking about my detailed 5-year that shows every year what we're
Yes.
planning to spend in capital? Okay, so
So
Bev and I
what-
can work on that.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm
what I,
talking two different things.
Yeah.
yes. So I
One
will
is
send out the
incorporating
budget,
this.
the budget document with everything incorporated that we talked about today. We'll get updated the town capital plan, and we'll also send, if we make any changes or whatever, of the Board of Ed capital plan. I'll send that all in the same email.
Okay,
That's good.
Maria?
Yeah, I just want to mention too that I'll work with the Board of Ed to, if we need to have a special meeting next week, to also go through the lines again and see what things look like. So Bev and I will sit down and then we'll meet with the board next week.
Okay.
In terms of what we are going to be sent, Bev, are you going to take out the 400,000 that's in the Excel spreadsheet as well, or are you not taking that out?
Well, the 66,000 is already taken out.
Mhm.
So it's the capital of 340,000. I believe everybody's in agreement to adjust for that, correct?
That was,
Yeah.
so at least we see it. Okay.
So you see it, and then once we get through tomorrow night, if everything's fine with the Board of Ed, I'll make that the adjustment based on the numbers for the health insurance, because I think the Board of Ed would agree for that one. And then I'll send that all out for you to review, and then if Mark and Marie and I come with more next week, we'll let you know, and then we can talk about it next week.
Thank
Does
you.
that work?
good.
Let's talk logistics. Are we talking about an in-person hearing?
No, yes, in person, meaning I'm really worried the governor's gonna force a hybrid, both hybrid and in person. I'm working with CCM to kill that. Because if you go on to Putnam's website and look at their hybrid meeting, it's a disaster. So I don't want to have that. You had two mayors fighting. You had motorcycles making noise with everybody in the parking lot on their cell phones in the meeting. You had chatting of very inappropriate things going through the chat session. I just can't believe they would force us to have a hybrid meeting. So right now, we're scheduling in-person only meetings in the school gym. I don't know if we could fit a public hearing in our Yeoman's Hall. We might need the school gym for both. And that's what we're checking with the school on the availability of the gym for both those.
Oh, we could always use their tent.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Those are going to get a lot of good use. We'll figure it out.
Maybe she'll put the roof on them.
I don't know, it was going to be windy for a couple days, so we had to wait.
Okay, where are we? We're meeting next week. Hopefully, FiPAC can start running some numbers and scenarios. And then we'll set a timeline then. Anything else?
Do
So
you
next,
need to make a motion to confirm that meeting, Ernie?
yeah, because next week was tentative, so do we want to plan a couple of weeks? So I guess we want to go week by week. Do you want, so next week is a tentative. There's a FiPAC meeting on the 21st. Do you want a budget workshop in that? We'll need to know. Do you want to cancel the April public hearing or postpone it and have another budget workshop? And I think the week after May 4th, there's nothing. And then the town meeting was the 11th. So
Well,
I guess we can wait, talk about all those next week so we get a
Right.
better idea.
that could all be figured out on the 14th.
Okay,
So I guess you have to motion to meet next week, I guess.
Yes.
Make a motion to meet next week.
second.
Second.
Any no votes?
And I'll ask
Do I
the Board
count?
of Selectmen to have a meeting that night as well. So if they can vote for whatever we decide to do as the public hearing and the town meeting, annual town meeting.
Okay. I
Will
think
that be
covers-
after? You want to do that?
I don't
after?
know. How do you want to do it? Is that a joint meeting or they meet after you close and give us a recommendation?
Say again.
Would it be a joint meeting or would the Board of Selectmen start their meeting after you vote to make a recommendation and then they have a meeting?
Well, that's the Board of
Well,
Selectmen. I think we
yeah,
should start. during
The
meeting.
board, yeah, because the Board of Selectmen, I think they're the ones who set the meeting dates.
Yes.
So if FiPAC has, I think what you could do, Mark, is if FiPAC tonight has a consensus of what they'd like as a calendar up to a budget vote, then you can give that to the Board of Selectmen and they can have a
They
special.
could do it, they could
anytime.
do it whenever they want, as long as it's before the 20th.
So they could probably do a special meeting either Monday or Tuesday before FiPAC, so we can give them that schedule next week.
Right. But as long as you give me direction before the 20th and they can vote, we're fine. April 20th is the deadline to change your schedule.
So that's Saturday, so,
No, April 20th is a Tuesday.
oh, it's Tuesday, yep, and they have a meeting.
Well, is there any problem with FiPAC tonight,
No,
committing?
if you commit tonight, that simplifies things to as far out as you want to push things.
I think we could be done in 3 meetings easily. Probably won't take more than 2. But what if we were to hard schedule the next 3 weeks? For
So the
budget?
14th, the 21st, and the 28th?
Yeah, we
I
could set
agree.
it in,
And then do you want to do the public hearing on the 11th? We have a week we can get everything pulled together.
anything you want to do for the public hearing and the town meeting would be fine by me.
I'll show up when you said it. So you
What
just want to be there.
about the following week, since we're not pressed, because that'll be right around the 40-day mark. Maybe we'd have some better idea.
So you're saying the 18th?
Yeah, that's whatever the following week was after
Yeah,
that,
so
right?
that's the third Tuesday of May is the 18th.
And that would give time for us to learn more about what we're getting from the government.
Yeah, if anything.
So May 18th will be the
Mhm.
public hearing, or
Yes,
so do you want to make like May 4th and May 11th tentative budget workshops in case something comes up sooner about all this information? Or
You
so
can
we
make
have-
them tentative, yes.
So make
Sure.
the 4th and the 11th. And the 11th is tentative.
now wait.
No, I think
doesn't
it's
FiPAC
5 and
normally
12.
meet on Wednesdays?
Oh, 5 and 12, that's right, 5 and
5 and
12.
12.
Okay, and that makes the 19th the public hearing. Now, that might be a FiPAC meeting too. So when do you want to, so do you want to put the budget? So we'll let the Board of Selectmen select the budget vote either end of May or early June. And we'll still
Right,
be
be-
within the rounds.
Because the 18th for the public hearing is also a Board of Selectmen meeting, so that works out. They could do both.
Is the public hearing always on I thought that was always on a Wednesday. It's
has
annual
been,
town vote is a Tuesday.
Oh, is it normally a Wednesday?
I
Yeah.
think so.
yes,
I don't remember.
it's always been on a FiPAC meeting.
But that's
Yeah.
because it's always been on a FiPAC meeting. Now it's not.
Because it's a FiPAC, the public hearing is a FiPAC run
Right.
meeting. The annual
Right.
town meeting is a Board of Selectmen.
That's
meeting.
right.
Okay,
We always had the hearing and had convened a meeting right after to see if we wanted to change anything based on what we just.
so do
Yeah.
you want to make it on the 19th then?
So that'll be a public hearing with a FiPAC meeting to follow.
Correct.
On the 19th,
Yes.
okay.
And then we'll let the Board of Selectmen pick when they want the budget vote, which is usually like 2 weeks after or something. But they have the motion because of the charter, so.
All right, and in theory, the executive order has allowed all this, and that's what I just read, so.
Wait till you get your mail tomorrow.
You know, it'll be
True.
different.
Every 2
Yeah.
minutes.
A new strain of COVID will change everything.
Oh,
Good, great.
don't even say that.
It's gonna affect the spotted
Uh,
trout.
It'll be the Russian strain. That's what's coming next.
Hmm.
Okay, then we'll have to pick a annual budget meeting sometime in June, most likely.
Early June, we'll let the Board of Selectmen have that. They have that option.
Right, so we'll worry about that coming. All right, I like that game plan.
Mhm.
Okay,
Good. Anything else?
No, sir.
Anybody?
Nope.
Nope.
What happened? We just lost you.
Us too.
I don't know. post attendee Zoom.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, shut it off. I don't know why.
Well, we're done.
That might be the other meeting.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I move to adjourn. I second it.
I
And I
said,
declare it adjourned.
we're all in favor.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good
Uh,
night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
thanks, Mark, Bev, and Marie.
Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Night.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.